It's important, as I interpret the sayings of Jesus in the Gospel of Thomas, it's important to understand, to all you listeners, that unless you are of a certain spiritual maturity level, these interpretations will not likely resonate with you. However, you may still get something out of these interpretations by listening to them. As with all conscious thought, we must be at that level of consciousness for these thoughts to resonate with us. If we are not at that level of understanding, we don't vibe with what the speaker is saying. We don't see the world as the speaker sees it. There is no right or wrong. You're not wrong and I'm not right. It's simply a different interpretation for a different level of understanding. And if you find that these interpretations do not vibe with you, you are quite likely not ready for this level of understanding, but you're on your way, and eventually you will see it as I have seen it. Eventually you will be at my spiritual level, and you will see the world, your conscious, through your consciousness as I see it, and you will vibe with my vibe, and you will accept the things that I am saying. Gospel of Thomas, saying 80. Jesus said, "He who has recognized the world has found the body, but he who has found the body is superior to the world." If you remember, in an earlier saying, Jesus told you that of all the prophets born of women, there's none greater than John the Baptist. But he told those that had come to know him that they were superior to John the Baptist. Therefore, John the Baptist, and below that carnal realm, below the carnal realm of John the Baptist, is what Jesus is referring to as the world. So there are teachings that we must come to understand all the way through the prophets and Moses, the law. We must understand all of these. We must receive all of these understandings. These are all frequencies of consciousness, of conscious understanding that we rise through. Now, when we receive an understanding from one of the prophets or from Moses, the law of Moses, we must accept that before we can move along and ascend higher in our conscious understanding. Now, if we have accepted that, the evidence is in our being, because whatever understanding we have accepted, we are doing. Therefore, God cannot be mocked. God knows if you have accepted the understanding in your being. Just having an intellectual knowledge of the understanding is not acceptance. You must accept that understanding into your being, and the evidence is the fact that you act out that understanding through your actions. Now, we keep ascending this way through the process of natural evolution until we reach John the Baptist. Then John the Baptist, the next step higher, is to go into the spiritual realm by meeting Jesus. And if you remember, Jesus has the same law when he says that he who loves me, he does my commandments. many people say they love Jesus and have intellectual knowledge of him, but they don't do. And if they do not do, then the evidence of their love is not there. There is no proof of love. So Jesus is saying that when you ascend up to the level of John the Baptist and then on to Jesus himself, then you are above the level of John the Baptist, the carnal conscious level, and being above, you can see clearly downwards the world, the head conscious level of the carnal realm. You can see it. You can see the conscious level that was below Jesus Christ. That is the carnal world. And Jesus says, when you've come to see this, then you have found a body. Now that body could be depicted as the carnal conscious body. What he's getting at is you've realized that now there is two of something that exists. Before that you knew there was only one. But once you've risen up to the level of Jesus, past John the Baptist, you can see that the experience you have in consciousness within the Jesus realm of consciousness is quite a bit different than what you were having or ever have experienced in your entire life. So now you can clearly see that there is a difference from where you were to where you are now in your headspace, in your consciousness. And this difference is depicted by the body that Jesus is talking about here. He's saying that everything in the carnal realm, all the understandings that are acted upon in the carnal realm are acted upon in a sensual manner dictated by the five senses of the physical body. So you realize that every understanding that you had in the lower realm of John the Baptist and downward was an understanding related somehow to the senses of the physical body. But now that you're with Jesus, you have a higher understanding. And that understanding is seen through a sixth sense, not hindered or veiled by the five senses of the physical body. And therefore you can see clearly that there was a world of consciousness that you rose above. But that is dead consciousness, and that is the body that Jesus is talking about. And as you were in the saying about John the Baptist earlier in the Gospel of Thomas, as you were superior to John, Jesus said, now you are superior to the world, whom John is the highest prophet of. Gospel of Thomas, saying 81. Let him who has grown rich be king, and let him who possesses power renounce it. In the carnal realm of consciousness, men gather great carnal understandings. And the one who has the greatest carnal understandings is the richest in the carnal realm. But when you reach that point, you realize that you can't go any higher. John the Baptist, the understanding of John the Baptist is as high as one can go in the carnal realm. You can't go no higher. This is the level of the head of the statue of Nebuchadnezzar, which reaches into heaven. And if you're familiar with the book of Daniel, the statue of Nebuchadnezzar, it starts out with clay feet and rises to a golden head. These are different levels of understanding in your consciousness. And the top is the gold, the good things of the carnal realm that make one a very rich man. If you look at the video 666, on this channel, you will see where man stands as the beast before the throne of God. So at this point, one could be a rich. As Jesus says, let him who has grown rich be king. That's king. Now remember, Lucifer is rich in knowledge. And Lucifer was kicked out of heaven because he would sooner be a king in the earth than a servant in the Father's kingdom. So Jesus is saying, let him who has grown rich be king in the earth. That's king over carnal things, over carnal understanding. You've got the best of it. You're the wisest, like Solomon. You're the wisest man in the carnal realm. Remember, Solomon was in the realm of Lucifer as well. So Jesus says, let him be king. And let him who possesses power renounce it. Now, if you are in fact king, then you have power. But the only way to go any further upwards towards God, the only way for the consciousness to ascend higher is to renounce that knowledge, that carnal knowledge that makes you king and gives you power. Get rid of it. Remember, Hebrews 6, it's appointed unto all men once to die, and then the judgment, which means that your man is the carnal understanding. That great carnal understanding that stands before the throne of God, one of the faces of the beast, is the man who has grown rich and become king, but now must renounce that power. Knowledge is power. You must take what you know or think you know and get rid of it. You must become like a child again, with no knowledge. Then, and only then, will you enter the kingdom and begin to grow towards spirituality, towards conscious spirituality. Saying 82, Gospel of Thomas, Jesus said, he who is near me is near the fire. The light of Jesus is fire. And he who is far from me is far from the kingdom. Remember again, Jesus said, my kingdom is not of this world. Okay? That is the world of John the Baptist and below. That is the conscious realm of carnality. That is the consciousness of all humans that is led by the sensuality of the physical body. But Jesus said, my kingdom is not of this world, which means that Jesus' conscious level, where he is king and rules, is above the level of John the Baptist. Where John the Baptist and below, as you found out in saying 80, is known as the world. You must rise above the world. That's the same world that Jesus said, my kingdom is not of this world. Now, once you have denounced the power, you've died to your own understandings, you've become like a child again, as Jesus said when he gathered the children with his disciples and said, whoever does not become like one of these little ones will not enter the kingdom. You must denounce the power, the knowledge, the carnal understanding you have. You must take what you know or think you know, get rid of it, become like a child again, and then you will enter the kingdom, his kingdom, where you can be taught of him. Remember, they'll all be taught of God. Jesus was of God. Anything that's entering heaven will be taught of God. Until you denounce your carnal knowledge, become like a child again, and enter the kingdom, you are not taught of God and not fit for heaven. Gospel of Thomas, saying 83, Jesus said, the images are manifest to man, but the light in them remains concealed in the image of the light of the Father. He will become manifest, but his image will remain concealed in his light. What Jesus is saying here, that consciousness is energy, and energy at higher levels leaves the dark realm and enters the light. So men have carnal, dark understandings, even if it's in the light, known as the Om, in the realm of consciousness of the Om. It's a darker light, a deficient light. And Jesus is telling you that the spiritual understanding and consciousness remains concealed in the image of the light of the Father. You need to have the light of God, the true light. Remember, John the Baptist said, I am not that light, but I've come to bear witness of the true light. You must ascend past the world of John the Baptist into the light of Jesus, which is the true light of the Father. Then your eyes will be opened. All the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the spiritual conscious realm is concealed in the frequencies above John, which is known as the light of God, the Father, the light of heaven. You need to ascend to that conscious level to be able to see what God and Jesus were meaning in their statements. Gospel of Thomas, saying 84. Jesus said, when you see your likeness, you rejoice. But when you see your images, which became into being before you, and which neither die nor become manifest, how much you will have to bear. Do you remember Jesus said that you must seek until you find, and when you find, you will be troubled? This is another saying earlier in the Gospel of Thomas. You must seek until you find, and when you find, you will be troubled. Well, this is a similar saying. Jesus says, when you see your own likeness, when you are carnal and you understand some wisdom, you get an image in your mind of what that means. And you say, I see. You have a picture of it in your mind. And you rejoice. Wow, that's just great. But when you see the images which came into being before you, what he's saying is, when you see the spirit world that existed in your consciousness before you ever entered physical form, when you see the spiritual wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that is eternal, which neither die nor become manifest. They are eternal. They don't die or become visible to carnal individuals, to carnal conscious people. They are never manifest to carnal conscious people. Jesus told you in the saying above, the preceding saying, that you must be in the light of the Father to have the spiritual wisdom manifest to you. So he says, when you see the spiritual wisdom that you actually came from before you became into a physical being, when you see the eternal spiritual wisdom, how much you will have to bear, how troubled you will be. It's the same saying. You will be troubled when you realize that all you believed was a lie in the carnal consciousness, and that you have to die to all that and overcome all that and become like a child again. There will be great suffering. How much you will have to bear. Saying 85, Gospel of Thomas. Jesus said, Adam came into being from a great power and a great wealth, but he did not become worthy of you. For had he been worthy of you, he would not have experienced death. Adam was an understanding. Adam was a rich man. He had great carnal knowledge. And that great carnal knowledge gave him great power. He was a king in the earth. Knowledge, power, and that equates to wealth in the carnal knowledge. He was wealthy in carnal knowledge. This is Adam. If you look at the 666 video of the beast, you will see the beast that stands before the throne of God. the face of the Lion of Judah, the face of the ox, the face of the man that receives the breath of life. This is Adam. But Adam dies when you ascend up to Jesus Christ. When you ascend into the kingdom of the Christ. When you ascend into the spiritual knowledge, you rise above the realm, the frequency, the conscious level of Adam. This is why Adam, the first man, has to die. This is how Adam was not worthy of you. Like John the Baptist, Jesus said that those that have risen up to his realm are superior to John. Well, when you have risen up to the realm of Jesus, you are superior to Adam. He is not worthy of you. He was carnal. And therefore, you had to ascend above him, which means that the information on the frequency known as the man of Adam is dead to you. Gospel of Thomas, saying 86, saying 86. Jesus said, the foxes have their holes and the birds have their nests, but the Son of Man has no place for his head to rest. Remember, in the carnal realm, individuals ascend in conscious level to a level of understanding that appeals to their physical senses. And they stay there. This is a den. Or they get a little higher into the higher conscious realm where some spiritual knowledge flies around like the birds of heaven, and they build a nest there. In the carnal realm, individuals ascend to a pleasing understanding, a pleasing conscious level, and then they make themselves a home there. But when the man dies and becomes like a child again, he becomes the Son of Man. And there is no sitting idle in a den or building a nest. For one who walks in the spirit realm must continue to move on, ascending, ascending, and ascending. No place to rest. Energy continuously moves. Consciousness is energy. People in the carnal realm sometimes sit in one spot of consciousness, one understanding, sometimes for 20, 40 years. They don't grow. This is the den. This is the nest. They've sat there teaching and preaching the same thing over and over and over again without ever rising. Because they believe their understanding and they desire not to leave that understanding. But in order to ascend with Jesus up to the Father's realm of heaven, you must keep moving on. It is written in the Pistis Sophia that Jesus' disciples asked him, "Where did you come from?" And he told his disciples, "I came from the light of the Father, and I'm on my way back again. If you desire to come with me, for I will wait for no one." Jesus told in the Christian scriptures that you must seek the Lord while he can be found. This is a similar saying to the Pistis Sophia. If you have contacted the light of the Lord, then you must be prepared to keep moving in your consciousness, keep ascending, keep growing, keep gaining more knowledge, and keep moving along with that knowledge. Don't expect to sit in one place. There is no den or no nest for someone who decides to enter the spiritual realm, the spiritual conscious realm. Gospel of Thomas, saying 87. Jesus said, "Wretched is the body that is dependent upon a body, and wretched is the soul that is dependent upon these two." What Jesus is saying here is wretched is the body of consciousness. That is the carnal consciousness, which is dependent upon the physical body, the five senses of the physical body. Okay, your carnal conscious body is dependent upon your five senses of your physical body. It is wretched, wicked, evil. And so wretched is the soul that depends on both of these. When your soul depends on your carnal understanding, which is relative to the five senses of the physical body, it is in the death realm, and it is polluted. It needs to be cleansed. It needs to rise up above its wretched state of condition. Gospel of Thomas, saying 88. Jesus said, "The angels and the prophets will come to you and give to you those things you already have. And you too give them those things which you have, and say to yourselves, when will they come and take what is theirs?" What Jesus is saying here is the angels of God. They come to you on streams of light, and the prophets. They will come to you and will give to you those things that you have, that you already have. It says already here because below Jesus, you receive information from the prophets that come to you on streams of light, and angels. Angels and prophets come and give you those things. These are carnal things. Well, you're under the law of Moses and the prophets. You get information from angels and prophets. And you too give them those things which you have. And say to yourselves, when will they come and take what is theirs? Well, you're waiting for something that doesn't have to come. You already have it. It's within you. Remember what Jesus said. The kingdom is within you and outside of you and all around you. So you don't need for them to come and take what is theirs, for you're surrounded by a heavenly host. That means your consciousness is surrounded by the heavenly realm of energy. It doesn't come from anywhere, and you just need to cleanse your understanding. Die to what you know or think you know. Get rid of it. Become like a child again. Be obedient to God and His sayings, and you will experience what you have. What you have within you will come forth. As Jesus said earlier, if you bring forth what you have within you, what you have will save you. Gospel of Thomas, saying 89. Jesus said, "Why do you wash the outside of the cup? Do you not realize that He who made the inside is the same who made the outside?" What Jesus is saying is we keep doing these things that your teachers tell you to do, your religious teachers tell you to do this, do that. So you do them. But never is there a change of consciousness. Everything you do, you're doing on the outer side, when you ought to be cleansing the inside. When people, teachers are telling you to go and give alms, so you go and you stand on the street corner handing out sandwiches to the homeless. This is an outward act. It does nothing, or very little, to change the heart on the inside. As Jesus said in other places, you must worry about the inside cleansing. And do the other things as well, but focus on cleansing the inside. For all your good works, the Holy Scripture in the book of Isaiah, it is written that all your good works are as filthy rags, because the heart, the consciousness, is too low. It's outside the light of God. And if you do anything below the conscious light of God, it is not good works. This is why Jesus told you in the Holy Scriptures that what you really need to do first is seek ye first the kingdom of the Father and His righteousness. Okay, that's the first thing. Don't worry about doing these good works all over the place. They do very little for your transformation. Seek God within you, night and day. Learn to meditate, get in the light, and go higher and higher through obedience to Him. Remember the law of attraction. Remember the first commandment. Thou shalt love thy Lord God with all thy heart, all thy soul, all thy mind, and all thy strength. Love is the force that draws. The universe is governed by the law of attraction. If you love God as you're commanded in the first commandment, and you worship Him diligently, night and day, obediently, you will be drawn up to God. It's simple as that. But you can go to church and do all sorts of works for human mankind and not have any growth towards God in your heart at all. And that, to God, is your works then are filthy rags. Gospel of Thomas, saying 90. Jesus said, "Come to me, for my yoke is easy and my lordship is mild, and you will find repose for yourselves." Jesus is saying that it's appointed unto all men once to die, and then you meet Him. That is hard. There's a lot of suffering. It's very difficult. He recognizes that your burden is heavy to have to die. But if you will do that, become like a child again and enter His realm, then His yoke is easy. And there will be peace and rest, repose for you in there after you rise above the carnal realm, the carnal conscious realm. Gospel of Thomas, saying 91. They said to Him, "Tell us who you are, that we may believe in you." He said to them, You read the face of the sky and of the earth, but you have not recognized the one who is before you. And you do not know how to read this moment. What Jesus is saying here to His disciples is they're asking for Him who He is because they don't recognize. He's nothing they've experienced before. Spiritual wisdom is not something that you have experienced before. When you come into the wisdom and knowledge and understanding of the Lord, you won't recognize it. You've never seen anything like that because you've only seen things from the upper end of the earth. where John the Baptist dwelled, or King Nebuchadnezzar from the book of Daniel, whose head reached into the heavens. You've seen things from there, but you've never seen truth, real spiritual knowledge. So when you see Jesus, which is wisdom, knowledge, and understanding from the spiritual realm, you do not recognize it. You are his disciple, one of his disciples in consciousness, and you do not recognize who he is. But he tells you, you've seen lots of things from the carnal realm, and you've read the face of the sky and the earth, but you have not recognized the one who is before you, because he's spiritual. And spiritual is quite a bit different from the carnal. It's like a complete overturn. Remember, the carnal understanding is all relative to the five senses of the physical body. The spiritual understanding ignores the five senses of the physical body. So it's foreign. Everything in the spiritual realm is so different from the carnal realm that when the transformation first takes place, you will not recognize it. This is what Jesus is saying, that you don't recognize him and you don't recognize this moment. Gospel of Thomas saying 92. Jesus said, "Seek and you shall find. Yet, what you asked me about in former times, and which I did not tell you then, now I desire to tell you, but you do not inquire for it." Jesus always told you that you must seek until you find, and if you seek with a pure heart, that's fulfilling the first commandment. Thou shalt love thy Lord God with all thy heart, all thy soul, all thy mind, and all thy strength. You will be drawn towards God, the higher conscious realm. That's the law of the universe. So if you seek, you will find. Yet what you asked me about in former times, and which I did not tell you then. He didn't tell you then when you prayed, when you were carnal, because you weren't able to understand. You didn't have eyes to see or ears to hear or a heart to understand. He did not tell you those things. But now, I desire to tell you, and you do not inquire after it. It's because once you've left the carnal realm and entered the spiritual realm, it is a bit of a traumatic experience. And information comes to you as quick as you desire it. In the spiritual realm, if you desire to know something, it comes to you. So what Jesus is saying, when you were carnal, you weren't getting anything. You were always asking for information. But now that you're making the transformation into the spiritual consciousness, these things just seem to come to you because you've left the cosmic conscious level of the world behind, where worldly thoughts just came to you of their own accord. And now that you're in the spiritual realm, these things that you desire to know, they just come to you, and you don't go asking after a lot of things as you did when you were carnal. Gospel of Thomas saying 93. Jesus said, "Do not give what is holy to dogs, lest they throw them on the dung heap. Do not throw the pearls to the swine, lest they..." And there's some missing there, but it is that they will take it and turn and rent you. In this half of a saying here, if you're familiar with the Christian Holy Scriptures at all, you'll understand that Jesus had called certain levels of thoughts dogs. There was a woman that followed Jesus around in the Holy Scriptures there, that wanted Jesus to heal her daughter, and Jesus said, "It is not meet to give the children's bread to the dogs." The dogs were understandings at a lower level. If you understand the parable that Jesus spoke in the Christian Scriptures of a rich man and Lazarus, how Lazarus laid at the rich man's table and the dogs came and licked his wounds. These were a lesser level of carnal understanding that comes and licks your wounds. And this woman was a lesser level of carnal desire. And Jesus said, "It's not meet to give the children's bread to the dogs." Nor should you give the spiritual information that Christ has given you to people at a lower carnal conscious realm, and it won't benefit them. They will just take it, and because they don't understand it, it has no effect on their heart, and it just ends up, as Jesus says, on the dung heap. They eat it, but it does them no good at all, and it ends up on the dung heap. Being carnal, they were not able to benefit from the spiritual knowledge whatsoever. And likewise, if you remember, Jesus went across the lake or the sea to a place called Gethsemane, where he healed a man, which was an understanding of a legion of demons. He drove them out into the swine. Now you can see the herd of swine there. They ran down a huge cliff and fell into the ocean and were drowned. Well, the swine is another level of understanding, carnal understanding, usually associated with the Jews. Yes, Jews are a certain level of understandings that are in your higher conscious level. If you remember that Jesus comes down amongst the Jews, so they're pretty high up there, the Jews, but they're known as swine. And they're known as swine because if you go back to the book of Leviticus in the Old Testament, Leviticus talks about the laws and how some animals are unclean to you. And any animal that had a cloven hoof and chewed a cud was clean. But the swine were not clean. Oh, they had a cloven hoof, but they don't chew the cud. Chewing the cud means taking the information you're given and mulling it around and regurgitating it and trying to get some sense out of it. The Jews at that level, they didn't do that. Now, they had a cloven hoof because a cloven hoof means that they have both spiritual and carnal knowledge. That's the cloven hoof. Okay, like the cattle, like the ox, it has a cloven hoof, but the ox chews the cud, but the swines do not. And the difference is the Jews were at a level, they are an understanding of man at a level that can receive spiritual and carnal things, but they do not regurgitate. They do not mull around the wisdom they're given and try and figure out what to do with it. They don't do that. So therefore they are swine and they're unclean to you. So Jesus is saying, do not give the spiritual things to dogs, and do not give the big things, the pearls, the real spiritual stuff to the Jews, because they are the swine. And it will not benefit them. Why does it not benefit them? Why do they not get regurgitated? Because they have no desire. The Jews are happy to stay in the carnal realm. There's no desire to ascend higher. And therefore, they have the cloven hoof. They have the ability to understand spiritual and carnal, but there's no desire. And without desire, consciousness does not move. For in the universe that is governed by the law of attraction, it is desire and love that is the force that draws. And desire. Without that love, consciousness sits idle. Gospel of Thomas, saying 94. Jesus said, "He who seeks will find, and he who knocks will be let in." Again, through desire, through love. Jesus said in the Christian scriptures, "He it is who loves me, he does my commandments." Okay, you need love, you need desire. And if you truly love and desire, then you do the commandments of Jesus. And if you do, and you love, then while you're seeking, then you will find. Or if you're knocking, you will be let in, as long as your heart is right. Gospel of Thomas, saying 95. Jesus said, "If you have money, do not lend it at interest, but give it to one whom from you will not get it back." Money, again, is carnal understanding. It can do you no good. So if you have money, do not give it to someone where you will make more money, where you'll get usury, where you'll get interest, where you'll double your carnal understanding. Don't do that. When you get to be up at the higher end of the earth, in the realm of John the Baptist, ready to meet the Christ, the Jesus, when you're there, you are known as a man, and you will have the breath of life, which is the light of God, the Om. When you are there, do not lend your carnal understandings out. Give it away to where you know you won't get it back. This is the dying of the man to himself, as it is appointed unto all men once to die, and then as a child, the Son of Man, you will enter the kingdom. Give your carnal knowledge away to someone that you will not get it back from. Take what you know or think you know and get rid of it. This is how, as a child, the Son of Man, you will enter the Christ kingdom. I don't believe we should make these videos too long for one sitting. So I think 45 minutes to an hour is probably long enough for a video. So I will split these interpretations, the 113 of them, into shorter videos for your convenience. So if you wish to hear a longer video, you'll have to watch the second part and the third part and so on until you get through the interpretation videos of all the 113 sayings in the complete Gospel of Thomas.